Hello everybody. Welcome back to my second video. I'm sorry it took a bit longer from my first video. I had some technical problems and some holidays in between, but hopefully I will now be able to do videos with a bit shorter waiting times. For today I decided to use an example of applying critical thinking. Let me know how you like it, if you would prefer more abstract videos, more examples, or maybe a mixture of both in the future. And yeah, I will try how I can find the best way to get across what I want. And I'm still experimenting, obviously, since I'm quite new to this. So I want today to use an example to show how important context is and how to go about to get some context, and also how to deal a little bit with numbers. For this, I just use an example of something I read in a German on a German news site a few weeks ago, maybe 2-3 months, where it said that in Japan there were actually more people who died of suicide in 2020 than did die of the coronavirus. We're now in April 2021. We're still in the middle of the pandemic. There's a lot of opinions about it. There's a lot of politics involved, and that means on all sides things are not always looked at very rational. So obviously when you hear something like that there were more people who died of suicide in 2020 than did of the coronavirus, then you probably will have some reaction. It might be related to whatever is your political opinion. I had a reaction just as many of you had. The important thing is, if you want to actually care about objective truth, or at least getting an idea which is as close as possible to something like an objective truth, then you have to be able to step away from whatever is your gut reaction, whatever is your political opinion. And when I did that, I thought, well, maybe I should just try to look at numbers. Because what was being said was basically about numbers, though the numbers were actually not given in the article. So I said, okay, let's try and just get an idea of the numbers and then see what it means. So I'll try something new. I'll try to show you a browser search. So obviously I already prepared this. And so there's two numbers which we need to look up. One, we need to obviously know the number of suicides. The other is we need to know the number of people who died of corona in Japan. So when I did this a few weeks ago, actually I didn't find numbers for 2020, but now there are numbers for 2020. So, and actually we can see a timeline here. We can see in 2020 there were about 21,000 people who committed suicide in Japan, and this is a little bit up from the two previous years, but it's actually lower than all other years from 2011 to 2017. So that by itself shows us already that in Japan there seems to be a decline of suicides, and there was a very small uptick. This is probably I don't know, maybe something like around 5% in 2020 compared to the previous year. I haven't looked this up right now on the page, but I also remember that Japan is known to have quite a high suicide rate, and this is a serious problem. So it's actually quite nice to see that they have a declining trend in these numbers, even if we have a small uptick in 2020. So, of course, there's a second number we need to look at. because it's compared to the corona numbers. So to make things easy, I just went to the official numbers. Sorry, this is a site in German, but it's quite easy. It's total cases, people who recovered, and deaths. So the deaths are 9,422. And this is actually for the whole pandemic. So this is not just for 2020, but this is up to today. Which means, of course, the number for 2020 is lower than this. But this actually isn't even the important point, because for me, to get a basic idea, I want to make a comparison. And to make a comparison, I don't need the exact numbers unless they're quite close. Then I need to become more detailed. But right now, I just want to get a rough idea of what this comparison means. And for that, it should be fine to just look at this number. Obviously, if I want to have a general yearly comparison, the pandemic probably didn't really start in Japan last year till probably something like March anyways. So looking from today, I probably have a realistic picture of how many people died of coronavirus in about a year's time in Japan. So what I noticed, just looking at these numbers, is that this is less than 10,000 people who died of coronavirus, while I have around 20,000 people who did die of suicide. So the first thing I see, no matter what I thought before from let's say, gut feeling, is that this headline that I saw seems to be correct. So the numbers actually fit what I found with this quite simple internet search. So I will just accept this headline as being correct. Now the thing which the headline didn't give me, because there was a small article, it didn't have any numbers, it didn't really have any interpretation. The interesting thing, which I now can see, is that actually what it shows me is that the suicides are about twice as many, which is consistent with the history of suicides in Japan in the last 10 years. Now, looking again at the number of coronavirus deaths, just to get an idea what this means for Japan, I will switch the view. Now it's deaths per 1 million people, which is for Japan is 75. And to get a feeling for this, I'll just compare it to some other country. I'm German, so let's look at Germany. And in Germany, this is also per 1 million people. It's more than 10 times as much. It's 953. And one of the country most hit is the United States. So let's compare to the United States. And they have more than 1,700. So what we actually can see from this, whatever Japan has done to deal with the coronavirus, they seem to have been quite successful at it. What we can also see, whatever is going on with suicides in Japan, it seems they have a serious problem. Maybe let's compare Japan to some other countries. So we'll just look for suicide rates by country. There is a Wikipedia page on this. And we will just see. So we have here we have here we have the suicide rate. This is per 100,000 people. So we'll just need to look where is Japan. Japan is at number 30. It has well, this is per 100,000 people. So if we want to look what this is number per 1 million, we actually have to take it by 10 times 10. So that would be around 140 people per million, which is around double the 75 we saw for corona deaths, which pretty much fits the numbers we had in pure numbers. So the suicide rate in Japan is high. It's number 30 worldwide. So let's check. This is out of 180 countries. So it has a serious suicide rate, though it's far from being the highest that is going on worldwide. So what can we then conclude from all of this? We can conclude, while that the numbers seem correct, we can conclude that Japan seems to have very few cases of coronavirus. So whatever they did, it seems to be working quite well. We can see that it has a comparatively high suicide rate, though the suicides did decline over the last 10 years. And we can say there seems to have been a slight increase from 2019 to 2020, which might be due to the effects of coronavirus or might not be. This is actually something we cannot see from this data. And that is also a message to take from this. If you look at numbers, there's a lot of things that can influence them. And we have to be very careful. If we do not know an influence, then we have to be careful to guess an influence. It's okay to voice an opinion on something, but we always have to understand that without a thorough investigation, we can never be sure. So if someone says that due to coronavirus there has been an increase in suicides in Japan, I would say, well, it might be, because we see a decline over the last 10 years, then we have an increase. So the one thing which seems to be different, which I know of, is the coronavirus being out there, and whatever measures are taken for it. I don't really know what exactly was done in Japan, but I would say, okay, it's a reasonable argument that this might be connected. On the other hand, I also have to point out that if there is an effect, it's probably not very high, because the increase we see here is actually not all that big. It's actually smaller if you look at the numbers than the decrease from 2015 to 2016. So yeah, that's basically how I would analyze these numbers. And yeah, basically that's it for this video. If you thought this was helpful, let me know. If you, as I said, if you want to have some other analysis, maybe let me know. And yeah, take care, and hopefully see you next time. If you like my channel or just want to support me, leave me a like, maybe a comment, share my channel, share my video, and everyone take care and stay healthy.